another groin strain. This is the other side. As we talked about with the first one on the left side coming back after the quad, day to day is not accurate for even a minor groin strain. It was closer to 2 weeks before she returned, played well, and now the other side, the right side. It is unclear what imaging shows, but once again, the new groin strain is not day to day. She's already missing the All-Star game and the three-point contest. The question is how much more? We won't know until we know about the imaging details, which were not revealed. But in any case, it's not day to day, closer to week to week.
Obviously, none of the All-Stars practiced today, but just how is Caitlin progressing from that right groin injury?
Yeah, well, I haven't seen since the game last night, but I think she's progressing. I think that we're continuing to address everything that needs to be addressed. She's going to see some doctors and get some more tests done early in the week. I don't expect her to be available on Tuesday, so we're just going to continue to take it one day at a time and let her get her evaluations early this week, and then once we've done that, hopefully we'll have more of a clear line of what it looks like.
Has maybe her story been representative of kind of the season where you have a range of emotions? There's big wins.
So the Indiana Fever wants you to believe this is all under control. Coach Stephanie White stands at the podium, as you heard her say, and tells the media that Caitlin Clark is progressing and that they're taking it day by day. And these are the comfortable standard issue words you use for a soft tissue injury. But what if those routine words don't capture the full picture? What if day by day feels like a way to downplay a much more alarming situation? Because while the Fever talk about progress, Caitlin Clark is now dealing with her third significant lower body injury in just a few months of professional basketball. She went from never missing a single game in her college or pro career to suddenly being sidelined for 11 of her first 23 games this season. And I'm going to keep mentioning that she's never missed a single game in her college or pro career, because I think that plays a significant role and also raises the questions, let alone ambiguity of this whole thing, because this isn't just a string of bad luck. This looks like a pattern at this point. And it's raising fair questions about whether the team's approach is putting the entire career of a generational talent at risk. So let's break down what the Fever are telling us versus what's actually happening. And the official line is all about caution. It's a day-to-day evaluation. Coach White even acknowledged that these kinds of soft tissue injuries can sometimes nag until you can actually have a time to really allow them to heal in the off season. On the surface, that sounds reasonable, but when you look at the timeline, the story gets more complicated. And this isn't one isolated incident. It's a concerning chain reaction, which I'll show you guys, because the receipt is presented to you on the screen from a medical doctor, which he had posted facts in regards of this injury and how it should be approached, and also the timeline of how things are just getting worse, and a pattern he exposed on X, formerly known as Twitter, right? So when you look at things, it started in May with a left quad strain that put her out for multiple games. Then in July, it was a left groin injury that again forced her to the sidelines. And now on July 15, she's pulled up late in a game against the Kinetic Suns, grabbing her right groin. Left quad, left groin, right groin. That's not random. In sports, it can be a classic sign of body breaking down under stress, where one injury creates a compensation that leads directly to the next. So for a player famous for her incredible endurance, who never missed a game through her high school or college, this sudden fragility is a massive red flag to me. And the team has confirmed she is undergoing additional testing and meeting with more doctors this week. And you don't just do that for a simple day-to-day strain. You do that when you suspect something might be fundamentally wrong. And you do that when you realize the problem might be getting worse, not better. Because the official story is of one calm patient management. The reality is a cascade of injuries that points to a much deeper concern. And if you're concerned, as I am, about what's happening to Caitlin Clark, and you believe this story needs to be told, hit the subscribe button. And we're going to be following this every step of the way, cutting through the official narratives to get to the truth. And this is where the story goes from concerning to deeply troubling. And you don't have to be a doctor to see the pattern, but it helps to understand the medical perspective of it, which I'll break down in a minute. Because soft tissue injuries, especially in the groin, are notoriously difficult, and they are slow healing and extremely prone to re injury if not managed perfectively or not managed perfectly. When an athlete suffers a left groin strain and then shortly after returning injures the right groin, it's a textbook sign of a bigger issue. It suggests that the initial injury was never fully healed or the underlying cause, potential muscle imbalance, a biomechanical flaw, or just sheer overuse was never appropriately addressed. And the body, trying to protect the weak left side, overloads the right side until it breaks down. So, this isn't a mystery in elite sports. This is sports medicine 101. Yet, there are fair questions to be asked about the Fever's approach. Has the focus been on just getting her back on the court from a marketing perspective, a business perspective, because we know ticket sales will go up, rather than solving the root cause? And the intense pressure of a season can lead to treating the symptoms, the individual strains, while ignoring the disease. Not saying disease literally, but I'm saying disease figuratively. A body being pushed past its limit without the necessary foundational support and recovery. Each time a player returns from this kind of injury cycle, they don't just risk another short term absence. They risk a chronic career defining issue that can rob an athlete of the very explosiveness that makes them a superstar, like Caitlin Clark. And when a team strategy doesn't seem to be stopping a cycle of injuries for its most valuable player, something has to give. And now the situation is fueling speculation about the most crucial element in any player team relationship: trust. Following this latest injury, the team confirmed that Clark is scheduled to see more doctors for further evaluation. On its own, that's standard procedure, but in the context of repeated connected injuries, it has led to widespread questions about whether Clark and her team might be seeking independent medical opinions. And let's be clear about what that would mean. A high profile athlete doesn't typically go outside the organization for medical advice unless they are starting to lose faith in the people currently in charge of their health, and is often seen as a quiet vote of no confidence. And this suggests that behind the scenes, there may be a growing recognition that the current approach isn't working. It raises the possibility of a belief that her long term health needs to be prioritized over the team's short-term needs. And this isn't just about treating a muscle. It is about career preservation. And when you see your body breaking down in a predictable cascading pattern and the response doesn't seem to be stopping it, you might be forced to take more control of your own future. While we don't know for sure what's happening behind closed doors, the possibility that an athlete in this situation would seek outside expertise is a serious indictment on is a serious indictment of a team's management. And it raises a critical question: is there a potential breakdown of trust between Caitlin Clark and the very people tasked with protecting her career? And the Indiana Fever are facing a dangerous dilemma, and they're gambling with the highest possible stakes: Caitlin Clark's future and their own championship hopes. In the short term, the impact of her absence is obvious. She's the engine of this team, averaging over 16 points and nearly 9 assists per game. And the Fever are a fundamentally different and weaker team without her on the floor. And they currently sit at a 12-11, holding onto a playoff spot, but their schedule is about to get brutal, and they face a stretch against the league's top contenders, and every game matters in a tight playoff race. And the temptation to get Clark back for that playoff push must be immense. And the pressure from the front office, from fans, and from a league that thrives on her star power is surely enormous. But this is where the franchise's priorities will truly be revealed. Are they thinking about the next 2 months or the next 10 years? Any sports medicine expert would tell you that the cost of rushing back from the interconnected soft tissue injuries can be catastrophic. A full and proper recovery, one that addresses the root biomechanical issues, takes time, often more time than a team in the playoff hunt wants to give. By focusing only on the immediate strain, they might win a few more games this season. They might secure a slightly better playoff seed, but they're also dramatically increase the odds that the groin issue becomes a chronic nagging problem that follows her for the rest of her career. And they risk turning a series of manageable strains into a permanent vulnerability. And this is the hidden truth behind the day to day talk. The Indiana Fever are caught between their immediate ambitions and their long term responsibility. And their handling of the situation so far suggests they are facing a high stakes choice, one that puts the health of their franchise player in the balance. So, what do you think was really going on in Indiana? And is this a case of simple bad luck, or are the pressures of the season forcing the Fever to make risky decisions with their superstar? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. And I want to get to this post on X, right, with this medical doctor. And it says Caitlin Clark injury history, left quad strain, May 26th, left quad strain, July 5th, and left groin strain, July 5th, right groin strain, July 16th. And then we had that quad May 26th. Initially, I thought the groin strain she suffered last night was a re-injury, but then I realized it was the actual opposite. Now, he made this post on July 16th, okay? So that means she has two abductor muscles that are weak and recently strained. This is in addition of the left quad strain that kept her out a while. Wouldn't be surprised if this was compensation patterns developing. I'll have her be in a 2.4 ATM hyperbaric chamber for 60 to 90 minutes a day, in addition to the other modalities in physical therapy. There's some really good data supporting its use and recovery. Not sure if they have enough downtime to consider injecting the abductor tendon attachments with a non-inflammatory allograft stem cell product, but that would be my suggestion. If not, she's going to be at the high risk of re-injury for the rest of the season and won't be 100% until the off season. Also think it's a likely they had to undergo MRIs to rule out sports hernias. So these are the dates and the receipts he pulled up of the dates of her injuries, her 3 injuries, back-to-back patterns. And here's a chart. Now, I want to break it down, right? This chart and what he said in simple terms, because I like to give it to you from a childlike perspective. So imagine your legs are the arms of a puppet. There are special muscles on the inside of your thighs that help you move your legs in and out, especially when you run, cut, jump, or change direction fast. Those muscles are called groin muscles or abductors, and you need them every time you push off your legs to move. They help keep your hips and legs steady. Now, here's the thing. Clark hurt both of these muscles, you know, and even before that, back in May, she also hurt a muscle in the front of her leg called the quad, right? And that's another big, powerful muscle that helps you jump and sprint. So her legs have really taken a beating lately. And when a player hurts muscles on both sides of their body, it's kind of like if you had a bike with 2 flat tires, it can still roll, but not very well. And because her body is trying to protect the sore spot, she might start moving in strange ways without even realizing it, which can cause even more injuries. And to help her heal, it would be really smart to have her rest inside the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And that is kind of like a high-tech nap pod that fills with extra oxygen. So when she breathes in all that extra oxygen, it helps her muscles heal faster, gives her more energy, and it helps her bounce back from workouts. And doctors actually have studies with this chart you see on the screen showing that it works really well. And if the teams have enough time, they could also try giving her a special kind of injection made for detonating healing cells to help them sore muscles get strong again. But even with all that, she's still going to need some time. And if she keeps playing too hard, she could get hurt again before the season is over. So just to be safe, the doctors probably already did an MRI, right? And to make sure she doesn't have something serious like a sports hernia, which can feel like a groin injury, but it's harder to fix. All right, family. And that's what we learned, right? So the Indiana Fever's official story of a simple day-to-day injury doesn't seem to align with the alarming reality of a player caught in a deliberate cycle um, of low body injuries. And we've seen that pattern of her injuries from the left quad to the left groin to the right groin. And it's a classic red flag that in sports medicine points to deeper unaddressed issues. And we explore why the situation is fueling speculation about a potential breakdown of trust between Clark and the team's medical staff, a sign of brewing crisis behind the scenes. We even have a doctor on Twitter and doctors on Twitter calling it out. And this is about more than just one injury report or one missed game. This is about a franchise profound responsibility. The Fever were blessed with a generational talent, a player who could define their organization for a decade. And their primary duty from the moment she was drafted was to protect that asset. But the evidence now raises serious questions about whether they are succeeding, and a cycle of injury and re-injury is putting her entire future at risk. And the front office says she's progressing, and we all hope she is. But the real terrifying question, we should all be asking, is progression towards what? A full recovery and a long, healthy career, or the next severe injury that could have and should have been prevented? The concern isn't just about the full story of an injury. It's about whether the team is making the right choices for their player, and it's time they were held accountable for that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.